For Suzanne Marquez, Pop Smoke was known by some of the biggest names in the business, like Nicki Minaj and 50 Cent. His murder has stunned fans everywhere.
Yep. There's been such a huge outpouring of love and support for this young and up-and-coming star. As far as the killers, they are on the loose. Police say they are looking for multiple men.
Tributes pouring in for Pop Smoke this morning after being fatally shot in Los Angeles. Chance the Rapper and 50 Cent among them. The up-and-coming rapper ambushed in a posh Hollywood Hills home early Wednesday morning. The 911 call came from someone on the East Coast who had apparently been told what happened.
February 19th, 2020, was supposed to be just another day in the meteoric rise of Bashar Baraka Jackson, the 20-year-old rapper who had taken the music world by storm under the name Pop Smoke. But as he lay sleeping in a rented Hollywood Hills mansion, unaware that his social media posts had painted a target on his back, fate was preparing to cut short one of hip-hop's most promising careers in the most brutal way imaginable. Pop Smoke had no idea that his last hours on Earth were ticking away, and that the lifestyle he had risen from would ultimately claim his life just as he was reaching the pinnacle of success. The Brooklyn Drill King, who had transformed from a basketball-playing teenager in Canarsie to the face of a revolutionary sound, was about to become another tragic statistic in hip-hop's long history of violence. Born on July 20th, 1999, in Brooklyn's Canarsie neighborhood, Bashar Baraka Jackson was raised in a world where survival often meant choosing between limited options. The streets of Brooklyn had always been unforgiving, but by the time Pop Smoke was coming of age, a new sound was emerging from the concrete jungle, Brooklyn drill. This wasn't the Chicago drill that had dominated headlines years earlier. This was something different, something more menacing. Drawing inspiration from UK drill artists and their minimal, aggressive instrumentation, Brooklyn drill carried a darkness that seemed to seep from the very soul of the borough's most troubled neighborhoods. Pop Smoke's entry into music was almost accidental. In 2018, during a studio session with his friend and rapper Jake Wapo.
Money. I need that money, that buy respect. I need that money, that buy respect. Wait, it's big on that 12 MLBOA. GQ, you got it, good nigga, me too. Me too. Yeah! We make a move like Greek. GQ, oh, you can't help what I see you. See you. You ain't getting better, nigga, GQ. Fuck you talking about back out, bro? Know some niggas that shoot you for nothing. Can't get this been only morning. No politics and no discussions. Every night, cuddle. Come to my block, Russian. They every bruise the sick homie, and we gon' hurt you if you touch it. Tell these big boppers stuff, they see me start running, cause they only gang it up ripping.
Fate intervened in the most unexpected way. Wapo had fallen asleep, too high on drugs to continue the session they had already paid for. Rather than waste the money and studio time, Pop Smoke picked up the microphone for the first time and began to rap. That moment would change everything. His deep, gravelly voice, a sound that seemed to emerge from the depths of Brooklyn itself, was unlike anything the hip-hop world had heard. It carried the weight of his environment, the pain of his struggles, and the raw authenticity that would soon make him a star. His debut single, NPR Panic Part 3 Remix, arrived in late 2018 like a seismic shock through the hip-hop underground. The track showcased everything that would make Pop Smoke a phenomenon. The menacing beat, the aggressive delivery, and lyrics that painted vivid pictures of street life with an honesty that was both captivating and terrifying. But it was the collaboration with UK drill producers that set Pop Smoke apart from his peers. While American drill artists from Chicago had dominated the genre with their approach, Pop Smoke and his collaborators stripped away everything unnecessary, creating a sound that was minimal yet devastating, aggressive yet hypnotic. 2019 brought the breakthrough that would change Pop Smoke's life forever. Welcome to the Party wasn't just a song. It was an anthem, a declaration of war, and a manifesto all rolled into one. The track's success was immediate and undeniable, catapulting the young rapper from Brooklyn streets to national recognition virtually overnight. The song's impact extended far beyond commercial success. It introduced the world to Brooklyn drill in its purest form and established Pop Smoke as the undisputed face of the movement. His unique vocal delivery, that unmistakable gravelly tone that seemed to rumble from somewhere deep within his chest, became the soundtrack to a generation of young people who saw themselves reflected in his struggles and aspirations. Following the success of Welcome to the Party, Pop Smoke released Dior, a track that would cement his status as hip-hop's next big thing. The song's menacing beat and Pop Smoke's commanding presence created an atmosphere of controlled chaos that perfectly captured the essence of Brooklyn drill. Dior demonstrated Pop Smoke's evolution as an artist. While maintaining the aggressive edge that had made him famous, he showed a sophistication in his songcraft that promised even greater things to come. The house at 2033 Hercules Drive in the Hollywood Hills was supposed to be a safe haven, a luxurious retreat where Pop Smoke could enjoy the fruits of his labor. The $2.5 million mansion, owned by Real Housewives star Teddy Mellencamp and her husband Edwin Arroyo, was rented through Airbnb for what was meant to be a brief stay in Los Angeles. The choice of location seemed perfect, a gated community in one of Los Angeles's most exclusive neighborhoods, far removed from the streets of Brooklyn where Pop Smoke had built his reputation. But this sense of security would prove to be an illusion, as the very isolation that made the house appealing to Pop Smoke would also make it an ideal target for those with violent intentions. February 18, 2020, would be Pop Smoke's last full day alive, though he had no way of knowing it. The 20-year-old rapper spent the day as he had many others in recent months, enjoying the success he had worked so hard to achieve. He posted on social media, worked on music, and basked in the glow of a career that was reaching unprecedented heights. Those who were with him later described Pop Smoke as being in good spirits, excited about upcoming projects and the possibilities that lay ahead. He had everything to live for: a successful career, financial security, and the respect of his peers. The future seemed bright and limitless for the young artist who had risen from nothing to become the king of Brooklyn drill. In what would prove to be a fatal mistake, Pop Smoke posted photos on his Instagram story that inadvertently revealed his location. The post showed gift bags and other items that displayed the address of the Hollywood Hills mansion where he was staying. To his millions of followers, these seemed like innocent glimpses into his life of luxury. But among those followers were individuals with sinister intentions. The address visible in Pop Smoke's posts was all the information needed by those planning to rob him. In the age of social media, a single post could mean the difference between life and death, and Pop Smoke had unknowingly sealed his fate with images meant to showcase his success. As February 18th turned into February 19th, Pop Smoke was likely unaware that 5 hooded figures were making their way toward the Hollywood Hills mansion where he was staying. The house, which had seemed like a fortress of solitude and luxury, was about to become the scene of one of hip-hop's most tragic losses. The rapper was not alone in the house. Several friends and associates were with him, including at least one woman who would later provide crucial testimony about the events that were about to unfold. As they slept, completely unaware of the danger approaching, their world was about to be shattered by an act of senseless violence. At approximately 4:30 a.m. on February 19th, 2020, 5 hooded men approached the Hollywood Hills mansion. One of them wore a ski mask and carried a handgun, while all of them moved with the purpose and coordination of individuals who had planned this attack carefully. They had chosen their target based on social media posts that suggested wealth and vulnerability. The intruders gained entry through a second-story balcony, bypassing ground-level security measures and catching the house's occupants completely off guard. The choice of entry point demonstrated a level of planning that suggested this was not a random crime of opportunity, but a calculated attack on a specific target. Once inside the mansion, the home invaders quickly took control of the situation. They held a gun to a woman's head, threatening to kill her if she didn't comply with their demands. The terror in the house was palpable as the victims realized they were facing armed intruders who were clearly prepared to use violence to achieve their goals. The woman who was threatened would later tell police that the men demanded to know where Pop Smoke was and what valuables were in the house. The invasion had all the hallmarks of a targeted robbery, with the perpetrators knowing exactly who they were looking for and what they hoped to gain from the crime. What happened next would end Pop Smoke's life and shatter the hip-hop world. According to witness testimony, there was an altercation between Pop Smoke and the intruders. The exact details of this confrontation remain unclear, but what is known is that it resulted in the young rapper being shot multiple times. The woman who was held at gunpoint heard the shots ring out, 3 distinct gunshots that would end the life of one of hip-hop's most promising talents. In those moments, a career that had burned bright and fast was extinguished, leaving behind only the echo of gunshots and the devastating realization that another young black artist had been lost to violence.
Pouring in for Pop Smoke this morning after being fatally shot in Los Angeles. Chance the Rapper and 50 Cent among them. The up-and-coming rapper ambushed in a posh Hollywood Hills home early Wednesday morning. The 911 call came from someone on the East Coast who had apparently been told what happened.
The LAPD received reports of the home invasion shortly after the shooting occurred. Emergency responders rushed to the scene, but for Pop Smoke, it was already too late. The young rapper was transported to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, where doctors fought desperately to save his life, but the wounds he had sustained were too severe. At approximately 6 a.m., just over an hour after the home invasion began, Pop Smoke was pronounced dead at the hospital. The news would soon spread throughout the hip-hop community and beyond, creating shockwaves that are still felt today. A promising life had been cut short, and a revolutionary voice in hip-hop had been silenced forever. The LAPD's investigation into Pop Smoke's murder quickly focused on the role that social media had played in the crime. Detectives discovered that the address of the Hollywood Hills mansion had been visible in Pop Smoke's Instagram posts, providing the crucial information that the perpetrators needed to locate their target. This revelation highlighted the dangerous intersection of social media and celebrity culture, where the desire to share one's success with fans can inadvertently provide criminals with the information they need to commit violent crimes. Pop Smoke's case became a cautionary tale about the risks of oversharing on social media platforms. On July 9, 2020, nearly 5 months after Pop Smoke's murder, the LAPD announced the arrests of 5 suspects in connection with the case. The group consisted of 3 men and 2 teenage boys, ranging in age from 15 to 20 years old at the time of the crime. The arrests were the result of an intensive investigation that involved analyzing social media posts, surveillance footage, and witness testimony. Police revealed that the suspects had indeed used Pop Smoke's Instagram posts to locate the Hollywood Hills mansion where he was staying, confirming the role that social media had played in the tragedy. The most significant development in the case came in February 2025, when Corey Walker, who was 19 at the time of the murder, pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter and 2 counts of home invasion robbery. Walker was the only adult among the original suspects and was considered the ringleader of the group that killed Pop Smoke. Walker's guilty plea carried a sentence of 29 years in state prison, representing a measure of justice for Pop Smoke's family and fans. However, no amount of prison time could bring back the young artist whose life had been cut short just as he was reaching his full potential. Pop Smoke's death sent shockwaves through the hip-hop community and beyond. Fellow artists, fans, and industry figures mourned the loss of a talent that had been taken too soon. But even in death, Pop Smoke's influence continued to grow, with his posthumous album Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon, debuting at #1 on the Billboard 200. The album's success demonstrated the enduring power of Pop Smoke's music and the impact he had made in his brief but brilliant career. Songs like For the Night, and What's Crackin' became massive hits, introducing new audiences to the Brooklyn drill sound that Pop Smoke had pioneered. The legal proceedings that followed his death have provided some measure of justice, with Corey Walker receiving a 29-year prison sentence for his role in the murder. But no amount of prison time can bring back Pop Smoke or restore the potential that was lost that night in the Hollywood Hills. The best tribute to his memory is the continued appreciation and study of his music, and the ongoing efforts to ensure that other young artists don't suffer the same fate. Pop Smoke's story reminds us that behind every statistic about hip-hop violence is a human being with dreams, aspirations, and people who love them. Bashar Baraka Jackson was a son, a friend, and an artist whose life had value far beyond his commercial success or cultural impact. His death was not just a loss for hip-hop, but a loss for everyone who believes in the power of music to transform lives and communities. As we remember Pop Smoke, we should celebrate not just his musical achievements, but the person he was and the person he was becoming. Despite the street credibility that made his music authentic, those who knew him described a young man who was generous with his success, loyal to his friends, and excited about the future. He was proof that people can rise above their circumstances and achieve greatness, even if that greatness is cut short by senseless violence.